What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Owen Gifford Show. I'm your host, Owen Gifford from Denver, Colorado. This is the third episode of this podcast, and I was recently listening to Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson, I think, and he said that only 1% of podcasts make it to the 20th episode. And this isn't even talking about viewership, but to make it into the 1%, all you have to do is just post 20 episodes. You just have to show up for 20 weeks in a row and you'll make it to the 1% of podcasts. Not even talking about viewership, not even talking about how quality the project is, but if you're good, you'll learn along the way. But people give up, they put on this effort in and then you get 12 views. The first two videos got 12 views on YouTube, about 40 each on Spotify. But I know that's not where you quit. You're not going to see results in the beginning. I've learned so many lessons from episode to episode. So if you just show up week to week and you produce those episodes, you'll become so much better. So that's the goal of this podcast right now. Make 20 episodes. Hit 20 episodes, produce a good product, and we'll see what happens from there. But we're going to keep going. I was looking at the first podcasts of some of the best podcasters in the world. Modern Wisdom, Tim Dillon, Rogan. And a lot of them are just them sitting in front of a computer or a microphone in their apartment without furniture, just yapping like so many production errors. And now you see them and they have, the highest quality production there is. And it just shows like it's a mountain. You're starting at the bottom. You kind of got to fail upwards up the mountain. And hopefully I get there one day. But the only way is to show up. So here we are. We're going to do this podcast every single week. You're going to see me every single week. And it might be annoying, but here we are. And today we're going to talk about mostly the Artemis II mission, the recent moon mission, the first moon mission in over 40 years. Before that, it was Apollo 17 in the 1970s. Some people still believe we haven't even been to the moon, so maybe this was the first in their mind. I don't think that's the case. We're going to talk about the Artemis mission because, in my opinion, I've said this before, it's a great thing. It's amazing. We can make it to the moon. We have this advanced technology, but in my eyes, we got to fix the things on Earth before we go to the moon and start exploring space. Like, sometimes I feel like space exploration is like trying to run a marathon on a broken leg. We're trying to go to the moon, we're trying to go to Mars, but we can't even fix the problems that we have down here on Earth. And we got a lot of them. Housing crisis, we're constantly at war, nobody can afford groceries, the food is poison, the elites can do whatever they want, and they are using that power to do some pretty horrific things. And these are the problems that we have on Earth. And it feels like we're kind of running away with our problems and saying, yeah, we have a lot of problems on Earth, but space, we can go to space. And as someone who has moved a lot in my life, I will tell you that your problems will always follow you. So the problems that we have on Earth, we're going to have those problems on the moon. As soon as we get situated on the moon, you bet there's going to be a 7-Eleven with a guy out front sleeping in a sleeping bag. He might float away on the moon, but it's going to happen because that's human nature. And if we don't fix human nature and the problems that we have, we're just going to keep doing them. We're just going to keep doing them. And it's funny to me because every single person who goes to the moon, or space, they have what's called the overview effect, where they have this profound realization that we have this planet that is perfectly made for us. And everything is interconnected because if you zoom out, it's just one little ball floating in a void. The overview effect to me is kind of like your friend who takes psychedelics, and I'm a fan of psychedelics, but your friend who takes psychedelics and has this profound realization, and you're like, what did you learn? And they're like, my life was changed. And you're like, what did you learn? And they're like, we have to be nice to each other. It's like we knew that since we were 5 years old. And then these people go to space and they're like, we have to protect Earth. Yes. We all already know that, or a lot of us already know that. I've said this about space exploration in general, not just the moon, but also Mars. We treat going to Mars like dating in your early 20s. We want Mars, the hot, toxic planet that wants nothing to do with us. And we don't want Earth, the safe, reliable planet that is literally always wet for us. Earth is here for us. Earth provides everything that we already need. We have the tech for Earth to provide everything that we need. Planes are modeled after birds for a reason. Boats are modeled after half a fish. The bottom half of fish. Maybe even the full fish. Because nature shows what you need and it provides it. We don't need the moon. We don't need Mars. We need Earth. Christina Cook, one of the mission specialists, one of the people on the recent Artemis II crew, her quote when she was passing behind the moon for that 40 minutes that they were lost communication with Houston, her quote was, "We will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other." And honestly, I don't really think that that's true right now. Because we aren't choosing Earth. We're choosing Mars and the moon. We're spending our money on Mars and the moon. We're not choosing Earth. And some of the argument is like, oh, we need, in case there's like a solar flare or a meteor, and we need to continue the human race. I would rather be able to afford a $400,000 house with a garage and afford my groceries, have free health care, have clean roads, good schooling, good education, be able to afford these things, then worry about a solar. I will take my chances with a solar flare. I'll take my chances with a meteor. I would rather be able to afford my life, to have a job and afford a house, than worry about a meteor or a solar flare. And that is just my opinion. And the second half of our quote, we always choose each other. Do we? We're constantly at war. We're constantly starting wars. We're constantly scamming each other, scamming the elderly. We're supposed to respect the elderly. We're scamming them with AI life insurance calls. We don't really help our neighbors. We don't even know our neighbors. We don't even talk to each other. People in college aren't even having sex because they're just waiting for the sex robots. We're just talking into our phones. We don't choose each other right now, but we need to. And NASA unveiled a $20 billion plan recently to make a base on the moon. And here's how this is going to work. Phase 1 now until 2028. They're going to send frequently crewed missions like Artemis II, Artemis 3, 4 rovers. And then in the late 20s, phase 2. This is the delivery of the first habitats and infrastructure. And then phase 3, early 2030s, establishing permanent infrastructure for a continuous human presence. So they're saying $20 billion by the early 2030s, we will have a base on the moon. And ideally, this would be for scientific exploration. Maybe we can find a new element. Maybe we can learn more about space. But I know people. And I know humans, and that is not what we're going to do. The first second we have a place on the moon for people to go, Vail Resorts is going to try to buy it. Vail Resorts is going to try to swoop in, try to buy the moon, and it's going to try to turn it into the elite place. You don't want to go to Aspen? Go to the moon. Vail Resorts. Or, we're a content-based economy. It seems like that's where we're going. As technology evolves over time, more and more content, more and more social media. As soon as we build this $20 billion structure on the moon, it's gonna be a content house. It's gonna be the moon hype house. Jake Paul, he's gonna be a little bit older. He's gonna reach out to the Rizzler, who is now a teenager, and he's gonna say, hey, let's wrestle on the moon because we'll be the same weight class. Netflix is going to stream it. The Rizzler versus Jake Paul wrestling match. And then when it's all said and done, here's what's going to happen if we build on the moon. When it's all said and done, they're going to start a podcast called The Moon Boys. It's going to be Jake Paul and the Rizzler starting a podcast called The Moon Boys. And that is really the only way that I see this planning out. If we build a structure on the moon where people can go, Jake Paul and the Rizzler are going to have a podcast called The Moon Boys. And the Costco Boys are going to be the first episode, and they're going to bring the boom to the moon. Because that's what we do in America. We make deals. We make internet slop. That is what we do in America. We're going to make it on Earth. We're going to make it on the moon. Pete Davidson and Michael Strahan, the defensive lineman for the New York Giants, have already been to space. They went with Blue Origin. You don't think if they can go to the moon, they're going to hop on another rocket ship and go to the moon? They're going to go to the moon, and then they're going to start a podcast. Michael Strahan, Pete Davidson, Moon Boys Podcast 2, The Space Boys Return. The Moon Boys 2, The Space Boys Return, featuring Michael Strahan and Pete Davidson. And them, along with the Moon Boys, Jake Paul and the Rizzler, are going to start the Moon Hype House. As LA is burning again for the 15th time in the last 20 years, because the world is so hot, and we don't get any snow anymore, LA is going to move all their content houses to the moon, and we're going to have the Moon Boys podcast with Jake Paul and the Rizzler, as well as Michael Strahan and Pete Davidson, the Moon Boys 2, the Space Boys Return. And that is how our economy of slop internet content is going to continue. We're going to spend $20 billion and we're going to get these content creators on the moon. And then Netflix is going to get involved, and Jake Paul is going to keep fighting old YouTube celebrities from the 2020s. And people my age, when we're 40, we're going to be like, I remember when Jake Paul was fighting Floyd Mayweather. Jake Paul was fighting on the UFC, fighting on the White House lawn. When the UFC was on the White House lawn, and now look at them. Now look at them, they're in space. The Rizzler. He went from Theo Vaughn's podcast on Earth to the Moon Boys podcast on the moon. In all seriousness, that was obviously satire, but it is kind of ridiculous the amount of money that we are willing to spend on space travel when we have all these problems on Earth. But the problem is, like, even when we spend the money on Earth, it's not being spent well. Like, for example, California, I saw this the other day. California has spent over $37 billion over the past 5 to 7 years to end homelessness. And nothing has worked. Nothing has shown. I would be fine with spending the $37 billion if I could see the results. And I think a lot of people feel that way about taxes. We don't necessarily have problems paying our taxes. We just don't love seeing where the tax money is going right now. It's going to programs that don't work. It's going to fraud. It's going to wars that we never wanted to be in and didn't even think were gonna happen. I mean, Trump's whole thing when Biden was in office was Biden's gonna start a war with Iran. I would never do that. And then he gets in office, and that's the first thing he does to protect his ass and his fellow buddies from all the information that is being put on the internet right now. You know, we don't see our tax dollars going to education. College prices are through the roof. You go to college, you're in debt for life. Medicare, healthcare, our taxes aren't going to free healthcare. We're the only first world country without free healthcare. And even when you do pay $10,000 a year in insurance, you get injured, they'll find every single way to get out of it. And they'll probably win because they have all the powers of the best lawyers in the world. And then you're stuck paying $400,000 for a surgery that should cost $10,000. And you're going to be in medical debt for your whole life. Like, if our tax dollars actually went to things that we thought were beneficial and we saw the benefits, then people would be more okay with paying the taxes. But right now, it's just going, frankly, to things that people just clearly don't believe in and are clearly seeing what's happening. And that's another thing about the moon. I'll get back to California in a second, but that's another thing about the moon. We're probably going to send up some doctors, along with the content creators. We're going to send up some doctors and some very smart people at the beginning before we trickle in the content creators. We're going to send up some doctors up there. And it's probably going to be cheaper for an American citizen in the future to get health care on the moon than it is in America. Say you're at work, you don't have insurance, it's expensive, it's $400 a month. You can't afford that. You have 2 kids. They get insurance first. They get food first. They get shelter first. Water. You accidentally cut off your pinky finger. Or you hurt your back. You fall off a roof and you hurt your back. Rather than go to the hospital where you're going to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get healthy, it will be better in the future for you to get on a spaceship, and cheaper to get on a spaceship and fly to the moon and receive healthcare on the moon, which will definitely have universal healthcare because it's in the universe. It's a moon. It's going to be its own first world country. It's going to be like, or maybe America will own it like Puerto Rico. We own Puerto Rico and the moon. But I think it's going to be cheaper for you to fly up to the moon, receive healthcare, and fly back. Similar to how if you want to get surgery in America now, it's cheaper to go to countries like Mexico, Costa Rica, over to Europe, where they have these cheaper healthcare because they understand that healthcare is a right And it is a right. It should be a right. It's not in America. And similar to going to Mexico, you're going to get on a rocket ship in the future and you're going to fly up to the moon and you're going to get surgery on the moon, and it's going to be cheaper than if you just stayed at your local hospital 20 minutes away. Because that's the system we've created. We don't want to fix it. So that's the system that's going to keep going. It's going to be cheaper to get surgery on the moon than it is in America. All right, back to California. So they spent over $40 billion trying to get rid of homelessness. Just for reference, there are 110 countries with GDP less than 37 billion. Like, for example, Iceland, 35 billion. We could have rented out Iceland for a year for these people that don't have homes with the same amount of money that we are spending on it, that we have spent on it, and it didn't do anything. It's also double what it takes to build homes on the moon. It costs more money, double the money, to fail at curing homelessness in America than it does to build homes on the moon. It costs half the money to build homes in outer space than it does to build homes in California. What's going on here? What is the problem? Is the money just being spent wrong? Was the plan bad? Was the money even going towards the plan, towards fixing the problem? I don't know. You could have built a tiny home for every person that doesn't have a home in America for less than $37 billion. We need our politicians to spend the money better. We could have built 2 moon cities with less money, with the same amount of money as it did to fail at curing homelessness in California. And the problem is, I don't know who, like those figures that we used to have that were kind of voices of reason against, the elite. It seems like they aren't helping anymore. There seems to be something with human consciousness and the human nature that when they get to the upper echelon of society, whether it's the money, the power, the freedom, whatever it is, they go a little bonkers. Kanye went off his meds and went crazy. Kanye went off his meds and went crazy for 5 years. Whatever it was. Saying some very anti-Semitic things. Yesterday, a couple days ago, he sold out SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles and made $38 million over 2 nights. 70,000 people were there, spending $500 a ticket to see Kanye. And I like Kanye's music. I'm just saying there are no repercussions for these elite people for doing the wrong things. And we don't have any voices. These voices at the top, it seems like they get sucked in too, like Rogan. I was a big fan of Rogan. I've really looked up to him, which is not a popular opinion. But his early stuff, his interview with Kid Cudi and Robert Downey Jr. is one of the best interviews, 2 of the best interviews I've ever listened to in my life. And, he would talk about psychedelics and how they're beneficial, which we now see is true and still trying to get pushed. And he would, really give a platform for early comedians. And he just had a way of just speaking his mind. But lately, and other people have noticed it too, he's completely shifted. In a recent clip with Theo Vaughn, who's a big podcaster too, Theo is kind of like speaking what everybody else is kind of feeling right now. He's going off on how, the food is poison. We can't afford houses. The elite are doing whatever they want and no one's getting prosecuted in America. And he goes off this rant and he sounds a little unhinged, but how could you not be unhinged when you actually understand what's going on? It's like, oh, how is nothing happening? And he kind of feels like everybody, all of us, we're just like, why isn't everyone happening? Like, I just want to rant. I just want to scream. Like, I don't understand why nothing is happening. And Joe's reaction to this was, you're crazy, man. You're going crazy, man. And the old Joe, like, I've listened to a lot of Joe Rogan, and the old Joe Rogan would have agreed and dived in and said, yeah, it is crazy that all these things are happening. I'll play the clip right now. Here is the audio.
It's a cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. It's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting politicians slap on kids. All of our money goes to Israel and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like Satan is amongst us and our religious leaders are talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going? I don't know, man.
We got to get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing your fucking marbles.
You think I am?
Come hang out with us. Just chill.
I'm here.
Just chill out at the mothership tonight.
I do have to pee in a little while, but
in this audio, Theo does sound a little unhinged, but in an unhinged world, the unhinged are actually the sane ones. And I just really don't like how Rogan was like, you're going crazy, man, and immediately shuts it down. Anytime Epstein or the Iran war, Israel, all these like very controversial topics that are clearly influencing the lives of everyone on planet Earth right now are brought up on Rogan, he immediately switches. And this could be a couple things. It could be he's scared for his family. He has kids and a wife, and he's scared for his family and his friends because these are some very powerful and very dangerous people. Or he wants to protect his business and his empire. This happens all the time in corporate America. People are trying to protect their businesses. That's why acting is a common thing within the corporate world. So we could just be protecting everything that he's built. He has a great comedy club, a big podcast. He could just be protecting it, or he's compromised somehow, which I hope not, but I have noticed that he does flip. He changes the subject immediately, and that's not what he used to do. And I just think in America right now, we need voices. We need people telling. We're lacking authenticity, and we need people speaking their mind because we need some help down here on Earth. Because we can't just all go live on the moon and create the Moon Boys podcast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 billion. We can't have 8 billion Moon Boys podcasts. We got to figure some stuff up down here on Earth. Thanks everybody for listening. Please like, comment, follow, subscribe. Spotify, YouTube. My Instagram is o.g.lol. I'm going to keep going, keep grinding. Keep going, keep grinding. Thank you.